Hello guys and gals, James Stacey here for aBlogtoWatch, and today we are taking a look at the Hamilton Intramatic. This model was introduced at Basel this past year. This is the 38mm version. It also comes in 42. Beautiful vintage styling. Like I said, 38mm on the case, 10mm thick, very easy to wear. That includes the ever so slightly domed sapphire crystal. It's 44mm lug to lug, which means if you have a smaller wrist, no trouble at all. Very easily worn on a smaller or a skinnier wrist. Total weight with the strap is 50 grams, so it doesn't weigh anything at all. You get a sapphire crystal, date display at 6 o'clock here. You get a display case back showing you the movement. And all in all, you get a watch that gives you kind of all the appeal of a vintage piece with kind of none of the drawbacks of owning a watch that, let's say, could be 40 to 50 years old to get something kind of in a similar aesthetic. Very much a callback to Hamilton's American roots. You don't see a lot of watches that look a lot like this today, but it would have been a popular sort of American style back in the day. From the modern standpoint, you get an ETA 2892-2, which is a fantastic movement, often seen in much more expensive watches. The dial on the Intramatic is probably the main calling card because, as you can see here, the bezel is exceedingly thin. Most of the watch is a dial, and because of that, the 38mm sizing is a little bit misleading. This watch wears closer to 40, maybe even 42mm, and just to give you kind of an example, if you take a look at the 41.5mm Omega Seamaster on the left, and you'll see that, you know, the dial on the Seamaster is considerably smaller than the dial on the Hamilton. So with these watches that are kind of all dial, it's important to keep in mind that the 38mm may suit your taste even if you normally wear, say, 42, 43mm watches, which is more or less my taste. You can get the 42 from Hamilton, but I assume it wears quite large on wrist. So if you're not really sure, stop by a Hamilton retailer and try both on would be my suggestion. Available in the stainless steel case that you see here with either a black or a silver dial. The silver I really like. It's kind of a sunburst finish. It's very minimal, except that they put a fair amount of text on the dial. You do get this Hamilton logo, and then it says Hamilton, then it says automatic, then it says Intramatic. I think they probably could have dropped the automatic script on the dial. The Intramatic can also be had in a gold case, should that be your taste. Speaking specifically about the case, like I said, it is very thin, very minimal. You do get the nice display case back. You get these nicely faceted lugs. They're minimalist, but I think in that they have a certain elegance to them. 20mm width on the 38mm model, goes up to 22mm on the 42mm model, so you do get a good ratio, a nice kind of wide strap for the case, which helps match kind of the thinness of the case, I find, when the lugs are a little wider. The automatic movement is easily controlled by the crown. Very solid feel. You're not getting any of that sort of vagueness that can happen with some kind of more delicate watches, or certainly the vintage watches that I have. And I really like it. You get, like I said, the sapphire crystal up front. Obviously, legibility is not an issue. The hands, these kind of stick hands, are fantastic, and you get the baton style markers. Gives you a bit of the aesthetic of a pie pan dial or a curved dial, and you still get the date display. I'm not sure that the date display is really needed on a watch like this, especially a watch that forgoes a second hand. I would rather have the second hand and no date display, and I think it would lead to maybe a somewhat cleaner looking design. Inside, as I mentioned previously, is an ETA 2892-2. Excellent movement, not often seen at watches at this price point. And in fact, this movement is the basis for the movement that's in that Seamaster I showed you just a moment ago, which is the caliber 1120, and then later on was fitted with a coaxial escapement by Omega, and they made the caliber 2500. So an excellent movement, one of the better movements from ETA's kind of standard range that are kind of sent out to other manufacturers, and certainly within the Swatch family like Hamilton. So you get a great movement, what I think is a beautiful watch, a nice size for the wrist. And let's take a look at a wrist shot to give you a better idea of what it's like to wear. Okay, so here's the Intramatic 38mm on wrist. My wrist is about 7.5 inches around, and I think this works perfectly. I think the 42mm may actually end up feeling a little large, maybe too expansive, especially given the rather thin case. But obviously the lugs don't extend past the edges of my wrist, making this for a nicely elegant way to wear, an elegant watch. I do miss the second hands, if I'm honest. I think the date display is nice to have, but not needed on a watch like this. For me, owning a dress watch is always a backup to kind of a dressier sport option, like that Seamaster. And I think this watch would fit that bill perfectly. As a daily wear, I think the second hand might be missed. All in all, a really nice package from Hamilton. Comes on this nice leather strap, where you can get it, as I said, with the bracelet. As optioned here, you're looking at $870, and it's about $100 more to go to the 42mm model. I think this Intramatic really offers all of the charm that you'd get from a vintage watch and really none of the drawbacks. You can certainly get lucky buying vintage or know your way around it well enough to avoid some of the pitfalls, but the average buyer getting into the vintage market is going to run over a couple watches that don't keep time very well or end up being difficult to source parts for and such. And this is going to give you all the charm that you may want of having a watch with kind of a 60s Mad Men-ish vibe, with, like I said, none of the drawbacks. So bravo, Hamilton, pretty cool watch. And for aBlogtoWatch, my name is James Stacy. Be sure to stop by the site and check out the full review with all the photos. And if you enjoyed the video, please click like. Thanks for watching.